Hello and welcome to Talking Golf with Gary. This week, the dynamic Gary will introduce you to all kinds of topics pertinent to this past week of golf. He'll give you some tidbits of information as what's coming up and take you on a tour around the world for all of the golfing highlights. Sit back and enjoy Talking Golf with Gary.
And hello and welcome to another edition of Talking Golf with Gary, number 254. Hope you had a great week out there. Great weather didn't start out so good for us this past week. We had some snow on Friday. Got more than expected, but it was all gone by Saturday night. That's the good part. It warmed up to the 40s and melted it all. Had a little bit of rain. Got rid of it. And boy, we're back on track. None of that crappy old winter stuff. Don't want it. Don't want it. Stay away, winter. All right, a little bit of action this week. Not a heck of a lot as the tours were coming to an end. The LPGA completed their tour. The European Tour picked their winners for the end of the year. But let's take a look at who the winners and losers were this week. Charles Howell III, another guy we haven't heard from in a while. He won in a playoff at the RSM Classic. Started out, he had the lead, kind of blew it during the course of the round, and but came back, tied for the lead, had a chance to win it regulation, but he couldn't birdie the 18th, went into a playoff against Patrick Rogers and won on the second playoff hole, I think it was. He birdied it and took home the trophy. The 39-year-old won his third PGA Tour title with quite a performance. He summoned his best golf at the most important moment. Now he takes the FedEx Cup lead into the new year. And how about on the LPGA Tour, Lexi Thompson shot a final round 70 to finish at 18 under 270 and win the LPGA season-ending CME Group Tour Championship by 4 strokes over Nelly Korda. The win makes this the 6th consecutive year that Thompson has won at least once, extending the longest such active streak on the LPGA Tour. Arya Juten-Ugarn took the other 2 big prizes were up for grabs this week, clinching the year-long race to the CME Globe Prize and the $1 million bonus that comes with that, as well as the Vare Trophy for winning the season's scoring title. The world number 1 already had wrapped up Player of the Year honors and finished 2018 with a 69.415 scoring average to edge Minjee Lee for the top spot there. Juten-Ugarn shot a 6 under 66, finishing the week tied for 5th at 12 under. Danny Willett won for the first time since his 2016 Masters success with his victory at the 2018 DP World Tour Championship Dubai. Despite strong challenges from Patrick Reed and Matt Wallace, Willett held off the field to win by 2 strokes. Francesco Molinari has completed his season of his life by being crowned Europe's number 1 at the DP World Tour Championship Dubai. He won the year-long race. The Italian won his first major championship in July at the British Open, adding to his first Rolex Series victory at the BMW PGA Championship. The 36-year-old Molinari also made Ryder Cup history in Europe's famous victory at Le Golf National in October, becoming the first European to win 5 points out of 5. So congratulations to all the winners: Lexi Thompson, Arya Juten-Ugarn, Danny Willett, Francesco Molinari, and of course Charles Howell III, another guy that we didn't hear from for a couple of years, and now his name's back. Goes along with last week with Matt Kuchar winning and Ali Westwood, and now this week was Danny Willett and Charles Howell III. So the old guys are pumping up a little bit there. Not that, they're old. 39 isn't old, and Danny Willett isn't that old, but some names you heard rising to the top again. All right, we got going to take a break, and go to our interview that I was pre-recorded a couple of weeks ago. Great interview. I think you're going to love it, and it's going to make great holiday gifts with the holiday season around now. So consider it and enjoy the interview. We'll be back with that right after this.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for interesting baseball talk, opinions, and history.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for barbecue recipes, tips, and interviews from the world of barbecue. If you like baseball and if you like barbecue, then tune in to Baseball and BBQ. Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and BaseballTalkRadio.com.
You know, the other day I was thinking about the golf bag and the club that you use probably the most in every round is the putter. And my guest today creates not only would you call them putters, but I would call them works of art. His name is Brad Converse, and he is the CEO, founder, and chief bottle washer at Bradley Putters. And Brad, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
So, Brad, this is before we get into the whole uniqueness of your product. How did you get into to golf in the beginning?
Well, my dad and I used to go bowling together. That was kind of the thing, like back in when I was 8 or 9, and there was this golf course near us that was just gonna be cheaper to buy some golf clubs and do that instead every weekend. Just a little 9-hole, unique, fun course. And so yeah, we switched over to that. Started playing around 10. Started off with my dad's righty clubs, and then eventually got my own lefty set. And yeah, just started playing with that.
And of course, you fell in love with the game, I imagine, at that young age.
Yeah. I played baseball and football in high school, but always was playing golf on weekends and chipping around the house, putting in the house, sometimes chipping in the house too. And then I had some injuries in high school that prevented me from playing baseball and football anymore. And so senior year switched over to golf and just had absolute blast.
Now, how and when did you decide to get into the golf business?
So that was pretty much Black Friday of 2016. So almost 2 years ago. Before that, I was an engineer. I spent about 10 years designing military equipment to survive nukes. So doing a lot of crazy top secret junk, real fun, but I was doing that out of Southern Oregon, and the company wanted me to move away. So I didn't want to do that. So I started looking for something to do, and I saw a wooden drum, pictured a golf ball dropping on it, and that kind of sparked the idea.
Now, you mentioned wood, and of course, for those that don't know about Bradley Putters, go check it out at bradleyputters.com. But they are made out of wood, and why wood and why putters?
Yeah, so when I saw that drum, it was a kind of a burl wood drum, and so burl wood it's a really crazy looking material made from kind of when a tree gets kind of forgets how to grow right, it starts adding a lot of swirls and weird stuff to it, and it just makes it really pretty. And so I'm from Grants Pass. Another company in Grants Pass is called Oregon Burls, and they have access to some of the most gorgeous wood in the world. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. And they stabilize it, and they do some really cool stuff with it. So I knew that was near me, and it would be a really cool material to add to product. So I kind of had that in mind. And then when I saw this wooden drum and pictured a golf ball dropping on it, I thought, what if you made a golf club out of this burl wood that just had some really cool material properties to it. I thought it would make a cool sound. I thought you could do some interesting stuff with it. And so the idea first came to me on that Black Friday. On Saturday, I built a website to see if there was interest. On Sunday, I built my designs. On Monday, I built putter 1, Tuesday, putter 2. The first putter was pretty lousy. It had a lot of problems with it internally. Second putter, I fixed all that. It felt really good. And third, on Wednesday, I shafted it up with some shafts that I went and bought from the pawn shop, sawed off some heads and glued them in place. And then on Thursday, had it on the course. the reason for wood, there's a lot to it. It's absolutely gorgeous. So, like you said, it's kind of an art piece. It's a masterpiece. And then from a material science standpoint, it is really low density compared to steel and aluminum, which allows us to put the internal weights in the exact right spots so that you get a nice high moment of inertia, so it's forgiving. You get really good feel on the sweet spot, because when you hit the sweet spot, there's symmetry between all the weights, and so the putter kind of just sings. If you miss a sweet spot, you still have good forgiveness because of the MOI, but you get really good feedback from the symmetric weights now being not symmetric relative to the struck spot. So there's a lot of science to why it's an optimal material. The mixture between low density, high hardness, stabilized wood, and the internal weights that we use. But it's just a marriage of an amazing looking putter that we can customize. We can take wood from people's backyards. We can take wood from famous basketball courts, famous baseball bats, all these things that have really cool stories or help you tell your story on the course, but then it actually performs just as good, if not better, than any other putter out there.
And that's one of the things with your company, that a lot of your putters have stories behind them. I've followed on Instagram, and you tell some of those stories, and on your website. So was that something that you went at purposely, or did it just happen that it just came up that way?
I'd like to think it was a bit more purposeful than that, but it was still people coming to me saying, "Hey, can you do this? Can you do that?" And it was kind of both and. So the putters, most use club in your bag. You've got it in your hand when you're shaking your opponent after you beat them, usually on 18. It's a very personal club, and so I've got people that they've sent me wood from their backyards, and I've made 2 putters, one for them, one for their dad. My putter is a cherry wood putter, and my dad has the matching cherry wood putter, and that cherry tree is the one I used to sit in and eat cherries and spit the pits at my sister. So that kind of story, every time I'm looking at the putter, I'm reminded of my childhood home, and my dad's got the same,
right,
the twin putter to it. Right. We've done stuff where, used Russell Wilson's baseball bat. We've got putters made with North Carolina's basketball court. I've got a ukulele downstairs right now that I'm going to layer together and turn into a putter for a guy who used to play that ukulele for his grandpa, and now it's going to be a putter that he's going to be able to use. Just some of this craziest stories that what happens is every time you go out on the course with your Bradley putter, someone's going to ask you what it is, like what's going on there, because it's different from everything else out there. You're going to make putts with it, but it's going to be an opportunity to tell your story of, this is actually, say you loved North Carolina basketball, like, this is actually wood from the championship court. And you're telling your relationship to, like, I went there back in 72, and, I've got season tickets to this and that, and I was actually at this game. And, every time you play with someone, you're going to be it's an opportunity to tell these really cool stories and just get to know each other better.
It's just amazing, and the memories that it invokes with people. As you say, you remember your the cherry tree in your childhood home. It's just amazing, and it's incredible what you can do. Now, a lot of people I know are probably wondering if they're not familiar with your product. The wood. Obviously, it's not just wood. There's a process that goes along with it. Could you take us through the process a little bit?
Sure.
And explain about it, and tell us. I know people are wondering about whether it warps and all of that, but
of course,
you've got that covered.
So normal wood definitely would warp. It would be too light. It would be too soft. It would just not work. We stabilize it. What that means is everywhere that there used to be water in this wood, we dry it completely, and then we put it under a vacuum and inject this material that goes into every single pore and then hardens there. And so it about doubles the hardness of the wood, and it makes it so water can't permeate ever again. So humidity is not going to affect it. Playing on a wet green isn't going to affect it. It's almost more like a plastic than a wood. So and we can do that to just about any wood. And so, we can take the softest, punkiest woods, turn them into most people, when they pick it up, they think it's a rock, especially with the weights we put inside. They can't believe how heavy it is. And then when I ask them to find to figure out how we put the weights in, even when they're holding it and looking at it from a foot away, they usually have to ask for help because they can't figure out how we did it. So, it's a really cool material, unlike anything else out there, but it is, from a material science standpoint, it's perfect. It is the most fun thing is, I have people that have followed me on Instagram for years now. They'll come into the shop for the first time, have never rolled a putter, and think, oh, that's really cool. It's so cool to be here. And then when they hit the putt for the first time, every single person does the same thing. They look up with this kind of like dumbfounded look, like, I was not expecting that. Like, you can be told, thousands of times, like, these are good putters, and you're just not going to believe it until you're not going to believe how good it actually is until you roll one. And then it's just like, oh, that's insane. And then the rest is history.
Now, does the piece of wood determine the shape of the putter? Do you decide to make something in a shape, or does somebody, if you're getting a custom-made putter, would somebody request a shape at all? How does that all happen?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so when we first started out, just kind of had one or two shapes, but then people kept coming and saying, hey, I've got this kind of putter. Can you make something that has a similar shape to that? And so we would figure out the weighting pattern and the densities and all that required, and we would make that shape. So right now we've got about 6 or 7 shapes we normally do. We also do live edge ones where we use the side of the tree, like we incorporate that into the putter head itself. Mm-hmm. When someone's making a custom putter, they can choose the loft, the lie, the weight, the length, the exact shape, the balance of it, how much toe hang to have, whether to face balance it, all that stuff is super customizable on our putters. We can drill it for a straight shaft, drill it for a double bend, drill it for a slant neck, drill it for whatever. We've got plenty of options with these. And we've got quite a few shapes already, but if someone wants some brand new shape that's never been done before, we can always come up with something. We even made one about a month ago that was in the shape of Oregon, just because that's where we're from, and wondered if we could do it, and we did it, and it putts beautifully. But it's that's definitely one of our unique putter shapes.
And obviously, it conforms to the rules of golf. Did you have to go before the USGA and all of that and get approval, or how does that work?
Yeah, that was a relatively straightforward process. We sent them about a dozen putters with different woods that we use, different shapes that we do. They care more about the shape. It's got to be a certain hardness, and for our putters, they're all plenty hard for that. Mm-hmm. It's more the shape that mattered. I tried some shapes where the front face was you only have one striking face unless you have 2 identical striking faces on the front and back. And I tried some where I'd have one striking face on the front, and then I'd try to add enough curve on the back that it wouldn't be considered a striking face, but they considered it a striking face. So that got disallowed. But for the most part, the putter shapes we have now, except we just came out with our new prototype called the Finley, so we're still waiting on the conformance letter for that. But everything else conforms to the rules of golf, and is it's pretty straightforward to work with them. Like they're super. You send a putter and $50, and a month later, like, yep, it's good. So not nearly the process and nightmare of like drivers and irons and all that other stuff. There's a lot more leeway in the world of putters for sure.
Okay, and everybody's into fitting now.
Right.
Can you fit to the? You did say that everything is very customizable, but do you actually have people come out and get fitted by you by your company for the putter, or do they people get fitted locally and send you the request? How does that work out?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways. Pretty much any way we can do it a lot of different ways. So most common way is someone will just say, you know what, I'm a pretty average golfer. My stroke's pretty similar to other people's, and we'll just kind of fit to a standard. The thing about putters is that the fit on a putter is important, but it's not as important as getting all your swing rates and all your lengths right on irons and drivers, because your speed is just slower. So it's important, but it's a lot. You're not gonna you wouldn't, if you're a good golfer, you don't just want to go pick up a random iron set and try your luck. That's not going to work.
Right.
With a putter, though, as long as your balance is right, that's the thing that we found most often is whether it's face balanced or has a bit of toe hang or a lot of toe hang. That's kind of the most important thing. I can tell you what you need based on what your stroke is just over the phone. So if someone's like, well, I've got quite a bit of arc to it, we're going to want some toe hang, because that's going to allow you to, it's the dynamic stability of toe hang in an arc is much more, it's much more stable than if you have a face balance putter that you're trying to arc, because you're arcing around you got weight more away from the center of arc. How to explain this? If you're doing a straight back, straight through, face balance is fine, because you've got the same amount of weight on the toe and heel relative to your shaft, where the shaft enters the putter head. So that's stable, that's smooth. But if you're trying to do that with a toe hang putter, something that's got more weight towards the toe than the heel relative to where the shaft enters the club head, then now you don't have that same dynamic stability. It's what I'll kind of show with people is if you grab a putter by like the center of mass of the whole putter, like on the shaft, and you move it straight up and down, the whole thing wants to stay flat, wants to stay square. If you try and do that where you're grabbing at the grip and you have the putter parallel to the ground, you grab the grip and you move it up and down, it wants to just flop all over it. It's not stable at all. But now if you're trying to turn the whole putter, like turn the shaft around you, if you grab the sweet spot and you turn it, it's very fast to turn it. It's got a very low moment of inertia. It just wants to spin like nothing. But if you grab the putter the putter by the grip and you kind of turn the putter around your hand, then it's very smooth, very stable. So that's kind of the difference between face balance and toe hang in terms of whether you do a straight back, straight through stroke or you're arcing it. And so when I'm talking to someone on the phone, I'm figuring out what's your stroke like. Do you prefer straight back, straight through? Do you have it on an arc? Then I'll figure out how tall are you. If you're 5'11", 34 inches is generally going to work just fine for you. If we're taller or shorter, we can adjust as needed. Are you playing really fast greens or slow greens? If you're playing fast greens, you want a heavier putter, because then it's not going to accelerate as much and hit the ball as hard. If you're playing pretty slow greens, you definitely want a bit lighter of a putter. But 350 grams works for 90% of people. If you want a really heavy putter, we'll counterbalance it for you as well. If you have forward press if you're leaning the shaft forward, we want to add loft to the putter face, because the ideal impact loft is dynamic loft is about 2.5 degrees, we found. So if you've got a 3-degree lofted putter and you have 2 degrees forward press, then you're hitting at 1 degree and you're hitting the ball into the ground. So a lot of these things we can figure out just over the phone pretty easily. And then we can dial in as needed. I've also had people send in footage of their stroke, from head on and from behind, and we can figure out a lot from that. We can pull the measurements we need. And then we also have a Gorgeous studio in downtown Grants Pass, Southern Oregon. I've got a full TrackMan 4 setup. I've got a certified teaching pro that does fittings as well. You can come in. We actually make all the putters here as well, and you can watch through glass as we're making the putters in the back. So it's kind of a really cool experience to make the trip out to Southern Oregon. We're about 2.5 hours from Bandon Dunes, so there's a good reason to come out here. But yeah, we can do full fittings, and then we also guarantee that you love the putter. So if we make you the putter and you're like, I'm pushing everything to the left, pushing everything, or pulling to the left, pushing to the right, whatever you're doing, we will tweak it and fix it until it's perfect, because then you're going to actually use it. You're going to tell your friends about it on the course, and it's going to become word of mouth advertising for us, rather than being like, well, that was a dumb purchase, and goes in your closet and you never talk about it again. So we don't want that happening. We want it out on the course, training putts. I got several texts in the past week of people saying, like, someone was saying, what is that putter like? Asking about it, not really sure, and then they went on to drain tons of birdies or win the tournament or whatever, and that answered the question really quick about what that putter is.
It's not the $29.95 one in the Walmart bin.
No, they're not cheap, and there's plenty of cheap putters out there, and that's totally fine. We're kind of unapologetically expensive. We're creating something that is an experience. It's something that you've kind of arrived and you have a Bradley putter. It's it's the people playing golf that just have a really big appreciation for the game and for the history of it, the story of it. Game used to be played with a lot of wood clubs, and we've kind of brought that into the 21st century. But doing that means everything's handmade by people right here in Grants Pass, Oregon. Paid well, and there's the wood itself is extremely expensive. There's we do everything as perfectly as possible. And doing that means, no cut corners. And so, yeah, you're going to be paying a premium for it, but then it tells your story for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. And I know from other interviews that you've done that you're very big on your town and your state of Oregon, and adamant that you stay there and work on things. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, when we chose where to put our kind of headquarters shop, I was in my garage at first and decided to, there's a property, you put a pin on the map in Grants Pass, kind of like right in the center. That's where Bradley Putters is. So we're right on downtown. There's two main streets, are 6th and 7th, and we're right on 6th Street. So, this is my town I grew up in, real passionate about it, showing people the opportunities that are present when the internet is a very powerful thing. And if you can show people the story of starting a business and the process in that's something that a lot of people are interested in. So we were able to, even though we're in this small little town, 30,000 some people in Southern Oregon, I'm able to reach people all over the world. Sent putters to almost every continent. Not much golf happening in Antarctica, but sending putters all over the world. And then I'm doing talks in town on entrepreneurship. I've got a talk coming up next week. I do these all the time, just trying to get people to think about different ways of being able to just revitalize this area. There's a lot of nonprofits have been on almost a dozen different nonprofit boards, but those, you're helping people out, but it's not a recurring, a new source of income for the area. Like if you're just feeding someone a meal, that it's necessary, but it only goes so far. If you are creating new jobs that would have never existed before, you are adding value to an area that, that's truly adding value. So that's what I'm trying to get more and more people to think about, is how can we create new products here? How can we take advantage of Oregon's got a really strong brand. How can we incorporate that into more and more products, making things really, closer to earth, closer to the source, something that is, higher end and special. And, so I'm doing my part to try and, whether it's taught robotics at the high school, at, the library, getting kids thinking about engineering and entrepreneurship, and understanding that there's another way of trying to do stuff. And, getting a job is great. That's, it's how I was able to get my start. But if you've got an idea for something, there's people around you that want to help you succeed with that idea, because we see how valuable it is for the whole area of Southern Oregon.
Oh, that's just great. The work that you're doing there is fantastic, and with the company growing so quickly, and do you ever get into the shop and put together a putter now and then, or are you simply designing, or just running the company now?
A little bit of everything. I've got a putter downstairs that, guys special requested I make that, so I've got that one coming up today. It happens a little bit here and there, but my goal with the company wasn't to make it the Brad Show. There's plenty of other putter companies out there where, you're getting that putter and it's special because of who made it. And that's cool. Like, that's awesome. More power to them. But that just was never my goal as a company. Doing that really limits how big you can grow and the number of people you can have on your payroll. So my goal was to get, to uplift my community, and doing that requires having people paid well on my payroll. So early on, I had two guys. I had Jared and Brett start helping me with making putters, because I wanted to, I was the first one to do it all. I was the first one to learn the process and make it work. But then it's something that's very teachable. And so I started teaching them how to make these things so that we could start adding a little bit of scale and being able to keep up with, I've got a lot of big contracts coming where we're going to be making putters out of all these crazy basketball courts and wine barrels and whiskey barrels and all sorts of stuff. I can't do that on myself.
Right.
And so, I still enjoy making putters, but for the most part, I've got I built a team that, that's their job, is to make those. And so right now, I'm working on adding the right people to the crew, making sure that, lights stay on, and that we're taking on the right jobs, and reaching the right kind of people. There's, it's especially on Instagram. There's the high school kids that are like, I won't pay more than $100 for a putter. It's like, that's great. Like, there's totally a need for that, and that's why there's a lot of companies that sell $100 putters. We're selling putters for generally custom jobs, go from $600 to over $1,000 for something custom. Mm-hmm. And there's plenty of people that want to spend that and even more for something that is truly special and truly custom with, sending their own ukulele in.
Exactly.
To a putter. That's who we're trying to reach. And so, I'm doing a lot of the marketing stuff. I do all the website work myself, do all the Instagram work myself. And right now, just working on making sure that we continue growing in the right direction. Because, when you're in a startup entrepreneurship, the hardest part about entrepreneurship is that there's nobody telling me what to do every day. So every minute is a choice of, okay, well, I'm going to do this thing. And thing is, like, I could absolutely crush my to-do list every day and still fail, the company because I'm not choosing to do the right things. So that's kind of what weighs on my mind the most these days is, you can only do so much optimization. At the end of the day, you've got to just do something. But it's that question of, am I doing the right thing? Is this the path the company needs to take? Am I leading the team in the right direction? So that's what takes up a lot of my time these days is moving us forward. So yeah, we've got tournaments coming up in our shop. We've got a TrackMan 4. So we're trying to do more things. Not everybody in town is going to be buying one of our putters, but being able to come in and play on the highest end software, hardware system in the world, on a gorgeous indoor simulator, that's something that the average golfer in town can do because, for $20 around, with the opportunity to make a lot of money on, if you end up winning, like, those are tournaments we can put on and our fun stuff. So we're working on figuring out more ways to incorporate the town in what we're doing, and doing Christmas parties coming up because we've got poker tables. We've got really cool. It's pretty much like this crazy cool looking man cave in here, and doing like we're passing out Halloween candy this afternoon. We did Tap Walk a few weeks ago where all these breweries team up with local businesses, and people go around drinking beer at all these different places, trying new beers and experiencing new businesses and activities. And so we're just trying to be like as involved as possible, while still getting the putters made that need to get made. And there's just so much to do every day. And then I've got a family. Like we had to push this back about 15 minutes because my daughter was being extra whiny this morning. So I've got 2 kids and a wife that need my time as well. And so that's we're almost 2 years into this thing. Definitely not coasting yet by any means, but I've got a team around me now that allows me to focus on growth and moving us in the right direction as opposed to being stuck making putters every single day. It's the difference between working in your business and on your business. And so right now, I'm trying to work on my business a lot more than being stuck in it.
Well, it seems like you've got everything going in the right direction. What does the future hold for the company? Any future products that you can discuss or you're looking into? Are you going to expand into any metal putters at all, or other clubs?
So metal putters is something we've experimented with and we are running with. So we do wood inserts on the back of it, which dampens the feel a little bit and just makes it look really cool. I've got my Rogue design, which has these crazy cool steps in it that from the back it looks like your just normal answer style putter, but when you look over top of it, every line is an alignment line. Like everything squares up. It's a lot of math went into getting everything to line up perfectly on that, but it's an absolutely gorgeous putter, and that's one that we're going to be coming out with more production on it in the next month or so, especially for Christmas. We also have our Applegate, which is a softer putter, but same thing with being able to add wood to the back of it and have these really cool accent pieces. So that's kind of a direction we're heading. It's not going to be a really big push for us. We have a lot of people asking for some metal putters, so we're trying to put our own spin on that. But wood's always going to be our main focus, but these metal putters are just too cool to not release. Right. And then the other thing is doing a lot of these, corporate type products where, we're working on doing some with wineries and whiskey distilleries, where when someone has, like, when the right person has one of these putters that is made from a whiskey barrel from, say, Jim Beam, then every time they're out there on the course playing with that putter and someone asks, what is that? It's instant advertising for Jim Beam, because they're going to say, well, this is actually a putter made with a barrel from this type of Jim Beam, and I was actually one of the only people to get one of the bottles of this, and it's this crazy story of the relationship between this person and the company that they love. So that's the direction we're trying to run a little bit more right now, trying to push into that. Also with golf courses, especially a lot of that were affected by a couple hurricanes that came through and downed trees. We just got some eucalyptus a couple days ago from a course where we're making putter that has, that is made with wood from that course. And so every time the person is playing with that, they're going to be telling the story of like the storm that came through and the how old that tree was and what hole it was on, and all that cool stuff. So we're trying to just really lean into the storytelling aspect of our putters, and we're still going to always do these putters that are just crazy looking and just really cool. But as much as possible, we want people to kind of be a part of the putter. So sending us wood that is truly special, that is really tells their story in the fibers of the wood itself. So that's where we're trying to lean right now.
Well, it sounds terrific, and I wish you the best of luck. And if the listeners are interested in your putter, how can they find out about Bradley Putters?
Yeah, easiest way is just bradleyputters.com. There's a button right there, start the process, and you can either have me call you, I'll work with you directly on a putter. There's a link to being able to customize your own putter. I've got, me being an engineer and programmer and all that, built a pretty robust way of building your own putter straight on the website. A lot of people do that. We do auctions every so often on the website for blocks or putter heads that are just totally different and crazy and hard to describe, so we just show it off and sell it that way. My Instagram, Instagram is @BradleyPutters, and I do a lot of stories on there, a lot of posts of those really cool stories. That's kind of the easiest ways to see what we're doing every day is just follow us on Instagram, because that's where I'll be posting about this on my story as soon as I'm off the phone. That's where I can interact with people the most, and that's what makes this company the most fun, is the just ridiculous number of relationships that built out over the past 2 years, getting to know so many people across the world.
It certainly is, and it's sometimes a crazy business, but it's a great business, and you're getting quite a foothold in it. So I want to wish you the best of luck again, and I want to thank you so much for your time today and for coming on Talking Golf with Gary.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and this has been an absolute pleasure.
Okay, Brad Converse, Bradley Putters. Go check it out. They're beautiful. They're works of art. They're not just putters. And I'll be back right after this.
Now it's time to do the calendar. Now it's time to do the calendar. Oh, hooray, let's sing the calendar. Now it's time to do the calendar.
Well, in this week's calendar, there's not a heck of a lot of stuff. In fact, there's practically nothing. But there is the match. Tiger versus Phil in Las Vegas. That will take place on Friday at 3 p.m. It is a live pay-per-view event, so you must check with your cable subscriber or your streaming, whatever you wish to stream it on. I think it's streaming on Bleacher Report Live, so check that out. It's $19.99 if you want to see the match, Tiger versus Phil. Haven't decided yet what I'm going to do about that. I'd kind of like to see it, but boy, do I really want to pay $19.99? I don't know. We'll see. And the European Tour is having a special ISPS event. It is the ISPS Handa Melbourne World Cup of Golf. And it's two-man teams from around the world, different countries. Denmark, I forget the name Olsen, I think, and Thornberson was the defending champions. Representing the United States, however, will be Kyle Stanley and Matt Kuchar. So that will take place this weekend, and I believe it'll probably more than likely be on Golf Channel. Don't they have everything on Golf Channel? I think they do. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Maybe not. Who knows? But check it out this weekend as you have a nice holiday weekend. And that's going to bring us to a close. We're going to wrap it up for this week's show. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to thank my guest, Bradley Converse. And I want to thank all of you for listening. And don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes, on YouTube, Google Play, wherever you listen to the podcast. Hit the subscribe button. That helps me grow the show and expand to new listeners. And until next time, remember, as you walk down the fairway of life, stop and smell the roses, for you only get to play one round. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.